So I've become a big fan of DSLR, and I want to talk about in this episode how to get the most out of your DSLR. Like, what's it good for? Why do you want one? That's what we're going to dive into in this episode.
So right now we're shooting with DSLR cameras, and I know you exclusively use them for YouTube, but we're going to find out why. And hopefully we're going to talk about some of the features of DSLR cameras and how to get the most out of them. Your depth of focus, all the other features that are on a cool camera. What other things will we talk about?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the depth of field or being able to blur it. We'll talk about like what you really want to know and use, kind of how to use it the right way to get the most of it. We'll talk about the differences between this and when you might just want to use your iPhone. And we'll talk about time lapse. There's lots of different features that you can use a DSLR camera for. So you ready to dive in?
Let's jump right in head first, which would be a dive.
We've been laughing because I've been using the word dive in quite a lot. So the biggest reason that I upgraded from a DSLR, because I actually used my iPhone 4S.
Upgraded to a DSLR.
Yeah, upgraded to it.
Yeah.
I used my iPhone 4S for a full year filming professional videos. Like, people would hire me and I was using my iPhone. But the reason I upgraded to a DSLR is so I could blur the background. And so that's what we're talking about, depth of field. Like, look at this, how I can focus in right there on that lens cap. You see Bailey's blur, but then I can go and get Bailey or that camera and notice how it switches. But my hand in the foreground is totally blurry. So I just love being able to do that. But you can adjust that. When I hit this f1.4, that's f-stop, I get lenses like this that have a really wide aperture. But you can adjust it and make it so that everything's in focus, but you notice it got dark. Let me go to 8, and then I'll just turn up the sensitivity so we get back to regular brightness. But now, whether I go to the lens cap or to Bailey behind the camera there, it's kind of all in focus. Mm-hmm. But kind of my default, I always go wide open, which is letting in the most light. But when we're talking about depth of field, we're talking about the area that's in focus. So the shallower that depth of field, it's like within this range. I just love it.
Yeah, no, it looks great. It's how our natural eyes work too. We're able to kind of focus on things up front and things behind get a little bit blurry. Yeah,
like right now, you're in my periphery and so you're kind of blurred. Or I'm looking at this camera, so now Bailey's blurred.
Right. Yeah, it creates that dimension. Okay, so I have an iPhone I've spent a lot of money on. I know that they've got, this particular iPhone has the 3 or 5 different lenses. Yeah. I don't know, so it provides some of the same features, right? Can I?
Right, so go and open it up, go to the camera.
Okay.
So, and you've seen right here where it says portrait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you click that. So what it does is it uses a program to kind of replicate what this lens can do.
Yeah.
So if I go on the lens cap there, let's get the same shot, and I focus on the lens cap and I hit take a photo. Well, and let me see if I can get Bailey in there too, but focus on that lens cap. All right, so we look at that photo, you'll see that it totally worked.
Right.
But how it did that is one lens was focusing there, another lens was focusing on the background but blurring it, and then it makes a composite of the two. It takes a lot of computing power to do that for video, and so that's why we can only do it for photos. But this is really doing it through one lens, and so it's not having to compute anything. That's why we can do video in this mode. So you can take awesome photos now.
But to get this kind of depth of field video, it requires a DSLR.
Yeah, the portrait mode, it only
doesn't
takes
work on
photos.
video.
Right.
Yeah. Can you do time lapse? Oh, I mean, I know you can, but how do you do time lapse with the DSLR?
So I'm going to go against the grain. Most people are going to talk about the technical features built into this that will take a photo every so often, right? And then it will merge all those photos like an animation into a time lapse. The easier way is to hit record and record a video, and then in your video editing software, you compress it down. It's like so much easier to do that, unless you're going to be taking like something that's 24 hours overnight, like getting flowers growing. And
well, I think that's what I kind of had in mind when I say time lapse. I'm thinking of the sunrise, the sunset.
Everyone there though is different. They're thinking about the time lapses they see in YouTube videos where it's like a crowd of people moving on New York City.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm just teasing with you. But you put your video. It's got to be still. It's got to be on a tripod, holding still, and you hit record. Let it record for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And then imagine a 30-minute video, compressing it down into 15 seconds or 5 seconds, how fast that's going to move.
Yeah.
It might be too much. I mean, you might only need 5 minutes worth to compress it down to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's That's the easiest way to do a time lapse.
So do it in post. All right, well, so let's take the opposite angle. Would it be the same thing if I want to do slow motion? If I want to do slow... Let's take an opposite approach then.
So this camera can do slow motion. What I'll do is I'll open up the menu and I'll come in here.
And by the way, this camera, what is it?
I love this camera. It's a Canon 90D. Should I talk about the virtues of this camera first?
90D. Wow, you're already into the virtues.
So it's a DSLR, but the reason I love it is it's got this flip screen. So I can flip around, and if I'm in selfie mode, right, I can see myself. So that's pretty handy, and it's a touch screen.
And if you don't have a team or crew of people making your videos, obviously by being able to flip
there's
that
Emily.
around.
Let me focus on you, Emily. Hi. Filming with my iPhone. There's Bailey. Is it focused on you, Bailey? There we go. All right, so flip screen, touch screen is great. And then the 90D can film in 4K. This can film in slow motion, so that's what I was gonna show you here. Okay, so it's actually, when you hit the menu button, the first place that you see is movie record quality. And so when I select that and select it again to go in and change it, you'll see that I can go 4K at 30 frames a second, basically, or 4K at 24 frames a second, or full HD at 60. So 60 frames a second, our eyes typically see like between 27 or 30 is typically what we record at. Means we could film something at 60 frames a second and slow it down to half that speed, and yet we won't be skipping any frames.
Right.
Now, that's all that this camera can do is 60 frames a second. Other DSLRs can do more. My phone can go up to 120, my iPhone 11 Pro, whatever. I'm sure yours is the same, 120 frames per second. That means you could record a video and slow it down 4 times, and so that's pretty awesome slow motion. So yeah, the DSLR can do it. This one can only slow down to that 50%. You just don't want to skip a frame, or you can slow it down more, and you can kind of blur it. There's effects that you might be able to use in post that will make it not look as choppy. So you can even slow it down more with editing.
All right, say we want to film something or shoot pictures at night. You know, that kind of a thing.
So having a lens like this is great. Because the more light you can let into the camera, the better. So the wide open aperture that's blurring, that can really help. All right, I actually want to go into a lot more details to answer your question about filming at night. I want to talk about manual mode, because there's this dial here where you can do a whole bunch of automatic settings, and I recommend learning manual mode. But to do that, you've got to understand 3 or 4 different things. You've got to understand ISO, f-stop, which is your aperture, you know, how much it's blurred. This is your shutter speed. So all 3 of these things control how much light is coming in, or how much light or exposure is going to be in the photo. So at night, it's going to be really dark, and so you could turn up the sensitivity. ISO is the sensitivity, and see how it gets brighter and brighter, obviously because it's not nighttime here. You can dial that way back down. And then shutter speed, if I turn the shutter speed up, it's like a shorter time between shutters. I don't know how that works with video actually, but it works the same way as if you're taking a still shot. But you turn up the shutter speed and it will let less light in. And so really, just the opposite. You'll turn the shutter speed down. So we could talk a lot more about shutter speed that I'm not the expert on, but the slower that shutter speed, actually the more light will come in, but you have to really have a steady camera, because it will you know, mess up your camera if there's any type of movement or anything like that. The other thing I always like to look at, I hit this Q, and color temperature is something that you want to be able to know how to control on your camera, because there's different color temperatures of light. The sun, or what we call daylight, is usually 5,000, 5,500, and a lot of the professional lights that we use in here are 5,500 degrees Kelvin is what it's called. Let me aim it backwards. So we're looking at the living room here. So let me turn back on color temperature. If I go clear down to like where a light bulb would be, like 2,700, I mean, see how blue that looks? But if we were filming with warmer lights, then that would look natural. You know, so you just really, that's the 4th thing that I would say you want to learn how to control, and see how I can warm it way up.
Yeah.
And I'll focus on your face there.
No, let's not do that.
There, I'll focus on your face. Go back to color temperature, and I'll even warm it up even more. So it just adds, I mean, now it's more orange, right? So I love manually adjusting it. I love the display on this DSLR here, because I can kind of see what visually looks realistic that my eyes would see. Our eyes are really good. Our eyes just adjust to whatever lighting temperature there is. So those are the 4 things. So with your question of how to use the DSLR to film it at low light, well, you've got to turn down that shutter speed, you've got to open up that aperture, you've got to increase the sensitivity, this ISO. So there's a lot of things that you can do to let a lot more light in and film at low light. So DSLRs are really good, especially if you've got a good lens like this.
All right, so you record the video on the DSLR, and now we need to put it somewhere, right?
Yeah, so it records to an SD card. And so, you know, you just, with your dongle, a little adapter, you can just transfer the files directly to the MacBook. So it records separately. You can't edit it within your DSLR like you can on an iPhone. You just edit in iMovie. I actually recommend people typically start with their iPhone. Start there, but if you want to upgrade to a DSLR, I love this camera. I love the Canon 90D. I started with the 70D, then they came out a couple years later with the 80D, and then a couple years later they came out with the 90D. This is actually I don't know, at least 2 years old, maybe 3 years old. So maybe they'll come out with the latest, greatest version.
100D.
But this one's awesome. This one's the first one in the line that came out with 4K. But all these features are great. Having the flip screen, the touch screen, the 4K,
and what's the
autofocus.
For a new YouTuber or someone that we're teaching these things, I mean, is it, obviously it looks better to have 4K on your YouTube videos, but there certainly must be bandwidth constraints and things like that in order
It takes up 4 times the file size, roughly. So the reason that I like 4K is not that I put 4K content on YouTube, but if I want to crop in on something, kind of zoom in, you can do that and still have it be HD, but you don't necessarily need it. Like, I really do recommend people start with their iPhone. I mean, that's an expensive camera. That phone.
And that computer chip in there does an awful lot of...
So start filming with your iPhone or whatever phone you've got in your pocket or purse. And then people say, okay, well, what's a good beginner level? Because the body, just this part right here, just this costs about $1,200.
Yeah, right.
And so that's not,
and the lens
that's not
is almost
beginner
as
level.
much.
This was a $1,500 lens. Where the lens we're using right there is like a $350 lens. That lens is the same lens right here. It's a $1,500 lens. But it's like people say, well, what about a beginner level? And I'm like, stick with your phone until you can afford this one.
Right.
That's really my recommendation.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.